from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast, Tuesday, July 1st, 2025. Counting down the days to my favorite day of the year, 4th of July. One of my favorite days of the year, right? Like, I just love the 4th of July. I love it. I love it. I love it. This Thursday, we'll have a special episode for the 4th of July and cyber. It'll be very interesting how we bring it all together, but y'all are going to absolutely love it. So don't miss Thursday morning's episode. It's going to be epic. All right. Packed show this morning. Let's get right into it. I've got my double espresso this morning, and if I put it in a clear mug for all of y'all, just so that y'all can see the beauty of what an espresso looks like. So got my foam, got my double espresso, coffee cup. Cheers, y'all. All right, let's get the ball rolling this morning with the Department of Justice raiding 29 laptop farms in an operation against the North Korean IT worker scheme across 16 different states. The Justice Department announcing yesterday a coordinated action that involved 3 different indictments, 1 arrest, and the seizure of 29 financial accounts and the shutdown of 21 websites alongside the laptop farm raids. FBI officials said the farms allowed an undisclosed number of North Koreans to illegally work at more than 100 U.S. companies. The farms host work devices sent by legitimate companies who unwittingly hired North Koreans, allowing the employees to appear as if they are working from the U.S. And investigators spending years working to stop the scheme. Obviously, it's something that's top of mind for a lot of practitioners, and for a lot of reasons, and we're going to get into it here in just a second as to why. The FBI said it conducted searches at 8 locations back in October of 2024 across 3 states that led to the discovery of more than 70 laptops and remote access devices. The FBI now conducted 21 more searches in June across 14 states. The locations were not disclosed, but FBI offices in Colorado, Missouri, and Texas were involved in the scheme. Around 137 laptops in total were seized as part of those searches. The North Koreans are helped by multiple people, including those here in these United States, in China, the UAE, and Taiwan. The Justice Department did not explain why there were not any more arrests associated with the raids, but at least in one case, an IT worker gained access to sensitive employer data and source code, including ITAR data, after they were hired by a California-based defense contractor that develops AI-powered equipment and technologies. Some U.S. residents created front companies and fake websites to bolster the credentials of North Korean IT workers, while also housing laptops that allowed the workers to remotely access devices provided by the victim company. The Justice Department outlined one situation where workers used fake identities to get hired at an Atlanta-based blockchain research company before stealing around $740,000 worth of cryptocurrency. The Justice Department said it arrested Zenying Danny Wang, a U.S. national and New Jersey resident. He faces a 5-count indictment. Wang allegedly worked with others to help North Koreans get hired and help generate $5 million in revenue for Pyongyang. The indictment also named 6 Chinese nationals: Yingbin Huang, Biao Zhao, Tong Yuzi, Yongzi Zhao, Ziu Wan, and Zhongbao Zhu, and 2 more people from Taiwan, Mengting Liu and Inchaya Liu. From 2021 to October 2024, they stole identities of around 80 U.S. citizens and provided them to North Koreans, allowing them to gain employment at several Fortune 500 companies. The court documents claims that the American companies dealt with about $3 million in losses due to legal fees, network remediation costs, and more. There's a real cost to this. A separate indictment charged 4 North Korean nationals with wire fraud and money laundering. And they're accused of laundering $900,000 worth of crypto. Wang and other were paid at least $696,000. The FBI said it sees 17 web domains used to facilitate the scheme and 29 financial accounts. So, again, you're seeing this constantly happen. In February, an Arizona woman pled guilty to running a laptop farm to assist North Korean IT workers. She faces 9 years in prison. It's not worth it. It's really, really not worth it. And when we deal with the human element, this is a great story to share internally. It's a great story because sometimes the way you discover this is by really training HR and qualifying the people you have. This is so critical. It's so critical. But it shows you how North Korea, and they call it North Korea, but obviously you see the people kind of fronting it for him are Chinese, which leads us to our next story by Rear Admiral retired Mark Montgomery. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy. He's also led the Cyberspace Solarium Commission. Admiral Montgomery is an unbelievable patriot, someone who's got his eyes on the prize. He wrote a whole article yesterday on FTD around the threat of China and what Congress must do to close loopholes that allow China to still take advantage of U.S. technologies and restrict efforts of China to get access to the U.S. through those loopholes. Along those same lines, Beijing is planning to expand the use of open source chip technology like RSIC-V in order to wean off its resilience on the West and spur the development of advanced chips in China. Chinese companies are using open source software derived in the West to design their own processors for AI, cloud computing, and even military application. They do so without violating current U.S. export restrictions. Chinese tech giants like Alibaba, Tencent, and Huawei have invested heavily in research and development, looking to exploit this backdoor access to Western open source technology. And even Chinese government-backed initiatives are pouring billions into this effort, making it a Chinese national priority. Montgomery goes on to say that this should not have been a surprise. After all, experts have been warning for years. This day has come. And so Congress has been looking at this technology and China's ability to exploit it. They've raised a red flag, but Congress moves slow and China moves fast when it comes to this kind of stuff. So Admiral Montgomery urging Congress to really act now and get this taken care of. Obviously, the Chinese threat remains top of mind. And again, avoid all the noise that's happening. Israel, Iran, noise. Russia, Ukraine, noise. I'm not saying innocent people aren't dying. I'm not saying war is okay. It's all of those things are noise. What the Trump administration has to focus on is curtailing China and doing what Israel did to Iran to China. I'm not saying militarily, but just espionage-wise, just the threat of going so deep into China to really exploit and shake the foundation of the Communist Chinese Party. That's got to be critical for President Trump as well. Several U.S. government agencies on Monday are issuing fresh warnings over Iranian threat actors targeting critical infrastructures, as researchers caution that many instances that the Iranian attackers' preferred targets remain exposed to the internet. This is coming on the heels of the bombing of the nuclear facilities by our brave U.S. military forces and those B-2 bombers. Man, what a marvel of engineering. But the Iranians, for their end, obviously being kind of taken down to the mat by Israel and the U.S. at this point, still have the keyboard while on the mat to continue to attack resources within the U.S. Now, I don't see them doing disruption. A lot of the stuff we talked about early on was kind of DDoS, defacing, kind of like, we won. You won what? You won what? You won nothing. You won. If survival is winning, then I pity your culture, but that's not the rich Persian culture I know of. That's not the rich Persian culture that made Iran a great nation before this Islamic revolution. And so with that being said, we know they target ICS devices and SCADA devices. We saw that post October 7th in Israel. They were going after water systems. They were going after PLCs in HMIs that were designed by Israeli companies in an attempt to do economic espionage against Israel. The new fact sheet coming on Monday by CISA, FBI, NSA, and the Department of Defense Cybercrime Center DC3 warns of attacks targeting U.S. networks and entities of interest like the defense industrial base organizations, particularly those possessing holding or relationships with Israeli research and defense firms. The document reminds organizations of the threat posed by attackers to ICS and OT, posing as hacktivists calling themselves cyber avengers, are known to target Unitronics Vision PLCs at water facilities. So you want to make sure you harden your environment. Do not give them an easy W. Don't do it. harden it out. Reach out. By the way, if you're in the water system and you don't have resources, CISA and FBI all have resources for you. Just reach out to your local CISA contact. If you don't know who that is, reach out to me directly on LinkedIn and I'll connect you. All right, we'll move to some breach notifications. And for that, we need a little sound effect. Where'd it go?
There is a security breach.
There it is. All right, so Johnson Controls is starting to notify individuals whose data was stolen back in the September 2023 data breach that they experienced. Johnson Controls, a multinational conglomerate developing and manufacturing ICS systems, security equipment, HVAC systems, and fire safety equipment for buildings. The company employs over 100,000 people in over 150 countries and reports an annual revenue of around $27.4 billion. Johnson Controls was hit by a ransomware attack in September of 2023, following a breach of the company's Asian offices in February of 2023, and a subsequent lateral movement through its network. They're now starting to notify individuals of the fact that they were victims of the breach. That's done. We talked about it extensively here, by the way, extensively on the show back in 2023 over this data breach. Dark Angels, the ransomware operation behind the breach, surfaced in May of 2022 when it began targeting organizations in a double extortion attacks. So now we're getting notices going out. We don't know the full extent yet of how many people were compromised, but once we get that, we'll share it with all of y'all. The government in Switzerland is informing that sensitive information from various federal offices has been impacted by the ransomware attack at the third-party organization Radix. The attackers have stolen the data from Radix systems and later leaked it on the dark web, according to the Swiss government there. The exposed data is being analyzed with the help of the country's National Cybersecurity Center to determine which government agencies are impacted and to what effect. The Sarcoma ransomware attack was targeting Radix, a Zurich-based nonprofit dedicated to health promotion. It operates 8 competency centers that carry out projects and services commissioned by the Swiss federal government. So more information will become available. Again, supply chain remains our weak underbelly. International Criminal Court has been targeted by a new sophisticated attack, maybe one that'll maybe straighten out its conscience a little bit. The ICC on Monday announcing it detected a new sophisticated and targeted cybersecurity incident that is spotted last week. It credited its alert and response mechanisms for swiftly discovering, confirming, and containing the attack. It didn't comment on any motives or whether any information from its prosecutions had been compromised. The statement added that the court, headquartered in The Hague, was currently carrying out an impact analysis following the incidents and taking steps to mitigate any effects, though these potential effects were not described. The ICC was created in 2002 through an international treaty. The court is worthless, and so there's that there. Well, once we have more on the attack, we'll share it, other than the court is absolutely worthless, which it is. Spanish authorities have arrested 5 individuals in Madrid and the Canary Islands suspected of laundering nearly $540 million from illegal cryptocurrency investment schemes and defrauding more than 5,000 victims. The law enforcement operation was supported by Europol, with investigators from Estonia, France, and the US HSI, that's the Homeland Security Investigations. The investigation into the fraud ring started in 2023. On the day of the arrest of a cryptocurrency expert was deployed in Spain to ensure that the stolen amounts could be retrieved and traced. Although the investigation of methods used continues, police believe they have now an understanding of how the syndicate modus operandi is, which involves routing the money through obfuscated channels in Asia. The investigators suspect the criminal organizations of having set up a corporate and banking network based in Hong Kong, allegedly using payment gateway and user accounts in the names of different people in different exchanges to receive, store, and transfer criminal funds. So Europol making special mention of AI and the proliferation of investment scams that are becoming way more sophisticated. The FTC recently reported that Americans lost $12.5 billion in online fraud in 2024, a record figure, and unsustainable, by the way, unsustainable. Critical vulnerabilities are affecting a product made by Germany-based Microsense, can be exploited by attackers to conduct remote attacks against the organization. Microsense provides a wide range of connectivity and automation solutions for ICS organizations and enterprises, including switches, converters, building controls, and transceivers. The company's NMP Web Plus product enables users to control, monitor, and configure industrial switches and other microservice network equipment. The advisory published by CISA last week informing organization that the product is affected by two critical vulnerabilities. One is can be exploited by an unauthenticated attacker to generate a forged JSON web token and bypass authentication. That's CVE 2025-49151, and overwrite files and execute arbitrary code. CVE 2025-49153. Both of those are related there. Chained together, it makes for a really, really bad day. So want to make sure you get that addressed. Chrome announced a new update solving a 0-day, that's CVE 2025-6554, which is a type confusion in the open source V8 JavaScript and WebAssembly engine. A strain of memory safety bugs, but type confusion issues can be exploited to trigger unexpected software behavior. Google is aware of the exploit that exists in the wild, according to them as well. Cloudflare has reversed its block on AI crawling from optional to default, allowing finer grained crawling, but only with agreement from all parties concerned. So Cloudflare is now introducing an option for their customers to accept or reject website scraping by AI vendors. That's a good win for all of us there, as you can limit how these LLM scrape your site, which is really, really important. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. If you haven't subscribed to CyberHubPodcast.com, please make sure to do so right now and check it out there. And by the way, check us out on your favorite podcast listening platform and CyberHubPodcast.com. Until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day, y'all. And most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.